Helping Parents Heal is a nonprofit organization dedicated to assisting parents whose children have passed. Through support and resources offered, we aspire to help individuals become shining light parents, meaning a shift from a state of emotional heaviness to one of hopefulness and greater peace of mind. HPH goes a step beyond other groups by allowing the open discussion of spiritual experiences and afterlife evidence in a non dogmatic way. HPH affiliate groups welcome everyone, regardless of religious or non-religious background, and encourage open dialogue. Attendance at this meeting is voluntary. We hope that participants will learn from and share with each other. Discussions here are confidential and not designed to replace traditional therapy or spiritual counseling. Zoom meetings run by leadership are not confidential. These meetings typically feature guest presenters and are posted on YouTube so that affiliate members worldwide can watch and benefit. Neither type of HPH meeting is designed to replace traditional therapy or spiritual counseling. Helping Parents Heal offers a wide variety of speakers, allowing parents to learn about many possible ways to heal. This includes presenters covering progressive topics such as afterlife evidence and connecting with children who have passed. The views expressed by our guest speakers may or may not reflect the opinions of Helping Parents Heal leaders and members, so we ask that you take from their presentations whatever may benefit you personally. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you, and I'm so excited to be able to have Dr. Linda Bachman and Dr. Earl Backman here this evening. I wanted to tell everyone that if you'd like to write your name, where you're from in the chat box, I'm sure that they would love to see who's joining us. And again, they'll be taking questions later on. If you would like to start writing those questions as soon as you hear something that you'd like more information about, you're welcome to anytime during the conversation. So I'm going to go ahead and read their bios. They are just wonderful people. And again, they've been with Helping Parents Heal several times. So I'm sure that many of you already know about both of them. Dr. Linda Bachman, she's featured on Coast to Coast AM and Gaia TV. She's also an expert teacher, regression therapist, and licensed psychologist with 45 years of practice, private practice experience, including 30 years of guiding soul regressions. Linda was trained by soul regression pioneer Dr. Michael Newton, and they've worked together training other therapists for 3 years. Linda has conducted thousands of past life and between lives soul regressions in person and remotely. Linda founded the Ravenheart Center and Training Institute in Boulder, Colorado in 1997 and teaches regularly worldwide. Linda's books are Soul Design, which is coming in 2025, and I'm not 100% sure, but we'll ask Linda after. Souls on Earth and the Evolving Soul and Bringing Your Soul to Light. She is an international expert in understanding how reincarnation plays a pivotal role in our personal growth and relationships. So her husband, Dr. Earl Backman, is a former university professor and administrator, trained mediator, and is skilled in conflict resolution, coaching, and consulting. He has held academic and administrative positions at universities in North Carolina and Arizona, following receipt of his Ph.D. in 1997 from the University of Oregon. He served as the Dean of Social and Behavioral Sciences, as well as University Ombudsman for Northern Arizona University from 1984 to 1997. Earl has also worked with Dr. Linda Bachman, his spouse, in making several national presentations on couples therapy, as well as having worked with couples in her former psychology practice. He is an author, a nationally known consultant, and is trained in both past life and between lives soul regression, as well as in the application of shamanic practices. In addition to managing business aspects of the Ravenheart Center, he also consults with clients in the development and/or expansion of their healing practice. They both live in the Boulder area, and just like Reverend Sue Frederick, who actually introduced all of us, and I know all of you know and love Reverend Sue. Their website is www.ravenheartcenter.com. I'll put that in the chat box. And without further ado, please join me and Lisa in welcoming Dr. Earl and Dr. Linda Bachman. Welcome, both of you.
Thank you, Elizabeth and Lisa. It's a pleasure to be with you guys again. We love being with all of you. And I always have to say, there's all those fancy long, bios and blah, blah, blah. Earl's and my best credential is that we are one of all of you. We are Shining Light parents as well. Having had our second child born prematurely, lived a short while and passed, which is many years ago. But that you all know that is an impactful sort of change-making experience. So we have walked that journey with all of you. So I'm going to dive in, and then Earl's going to jump in as well. And as I said to Elizabeth before we started, no question is off base. So please, everybody, don't hold back. Ask your questions, and Earl and I will do our very best to answer. Um, so we're talking tonight about the afterlife. We're talking about essentially who are we as a soul, what happens when we transition, um, where are we when we transition, and what kinds of roles, responsibilities, and commitments do souls, and in this case, our beloved children, have on the other side, and how does that aid us, but how does that aid humanity? So I'm going to give just a quick, not take a whole lot of time with this explanation. How did I get into what I do? And Earl will do the same. Um, so I became a Shining Light parent at the age of 25. I understood nothing about grief. Um, and you all know it's instantly a crash course in what is wrong with me and why do I feel this way and how do I manage this and get through it. So, very long story short, from the age of 25 on, and I was not a psychologist at the age of 25. My lovely husband had his PhD when he was 25, but I did not have a graduate degree at that point. Um, and but what I found crucial, and I'm convinced that I was being guided, is that I became passionate to assist families who'd had a child pass to understand how to cope with that. So that was the first step. Leaving out lots of details, I returned to school. We had another child, that is our lovely daughter. Um, and we had another child, and I went back to school and ultimately got my doctoral degree in counseling psychology, partly because I wanted to keep working in the area of grief and loss. But I didn't understand soul back then. I didn't understand what happens when we pass and where is our child and all of that. So, and this is the way life goes. In my middle 40s, Earl at that point, and Earl's going to share about himself, but Earl was a university professor and administrator. In my middle 40s, I was a practicing psychologist. I did a lot of grief and loss work with people, but still I didn't understand the afterlife until I had a very close colleague pass in the spring of 1993. I was in my 40s, he was in his 30s. He passed from a type of cancer. And suddenly I started having what a lot of people call STEs, or spiritually transformative experiences. I had an STE at the age of 46. My colleague was talking to me from the other side. I didn't know how that worked. I didn't understand that at all. My colleague was talking to me from the other side and actually began to communicate with me about past lives we had shared. So, and I share all this because I think it's pertinent for all of you to know. So here's Earl and me. We've been married, I don't know, 20 or 25 years at the time. We have children. Um, we think we're normal. And I begin to have these spiritual experiences. So, and Earl knew my colleague. They at times played golf with each other, so they knew each other. So I asked Earl to sit down and I began to explain what back then wasn't called an STE, but I began to explain my STE to Earl. And I honestly thought, and lots of you have spouses, so probably you've gone through this. I thought Earl would look back at me as a spouse might look back at a spouse and like roll, his eyes roll back in his head like, what, what's going on? What is the matter with you? What are you talking about? But bottom line is that's not what happened. And Earl looked back at me really calmly. So then I said, well, okay, apparently you don't think this is crazy. And Earl said, no, I don't. And so I quickly said, why don't you think this is crazy? And then Earl began to tell me that when he was a child, he had an STE. And he may talk about this in our conversation tonight, but Earl, as a boy, began to understand the other side. And Earl, as a boy, began to recognize he'd had, as souls do, he'd had past lives. And Earl knew about his past lives when he was about 10 years old, but nobody talked about it at all in his life, so he forgot about it until this time in 1993. So the blessing for me was Earl said, Look, if you're interested in understanding who are we as a soul, what happens when we pass, what does that mean, what do souls do on the other side, go for it." And I needed that beautiful permission. So I'm going to say more about the afterlife, but I'm going to stop jabbering and let Earl jump in and let Earl talk about how he helps people to understand their intuitive, how to use their intuition, and Earl, dive in and share what you want to share.
Okay, thank you. It's both a pleasure and an honor, truly an honor, to be with you all. This is not something that we do on a regular basis. Our schedules are busy. We lead a very active life in terms of our clinical work, the work we do. But this is important. It's important because we've been gifted, not by choice, but just by who we are as soul, to spend a lot of time tapping into the spiritual realm, the realm where souls go that cross over. This is not at all what I expected with my life. I was going to be a university professor. I was going to retire. I was going to live off TIAA and the retirement money. That isn't what was supposed to happen. Because Linda and I were guided to make a transition, probably more of a transformation from what we are doing to helping others understand the spiritual realm, where souls go. It is a passion for both of us. I'll be 80 soon, 80, and I'm working full time. And people say, our son retired at 54, so we're still struggling with how can that happen? But we don't spend a lot of time doing that. The purpose here is I work with soul energy on the other side. I spend, and Linda will say this, I spend a bulk of my time out of my body, helping souls in body understand what is going on in the spiritual realm, how they can connect with loved ones, how they can deal with the grief they're feeling, how in fact can they see the learning that is taking place for each of them with the loss. It's hard to accept that being a shining parent is a gift because you're dealing with the loss. You're dealing with the feelings of my loved one is no longer physically present. On the other hand, your loved one is very present from an energetic perspective. So I spend my time working with clients to connect with that soul energy and help them to understand there's meaning. Tonight, we'll share what happens for a lot of souls when they cross over. They do not go hang out on a beach drinking martinis. They just do not do that. They have a lot of work to do. And we'll hopefully share what some of that work is to help humanity, to help others. And I'm sure you, each of you in your own way, realize you're teachers. The loss you have experienced gives you the opportunity to teach others. And that's important to realize that you have a role to play. Your loved one on the other side will help you do that. Okay, take it away, Linda.
Okay, this crazy dog and pony show here. Well, so I've been guiding regression for a long time. I don't know, 27, 28 years or so. And one of the understandings that has come to me by guiding a client to experience the ending of a past life and leaving that life informs me repetitively. I don't tell the client what's going to happen, they tell me. And so, bottom line, probably a lot of you know this, is that when our human body no longer functions, when our cardiopulmonary functions have ceased for whatever was the cause, the holographic slice, the aspect, the portion of our soul, it's not 100% of our soul energy, because I know that if we brought 100% of our soul energy into our bodies, I've been told this many times in regression, with client regressions, that it would blow the circuits of the human body. So no matter what the cause of transition, and it doesn't matter, and I think this probably many of you know this by now, there isn't this huge, horrible, traumatic suffering, because the soul knows exactly when and how to exit the human body and step out of that whatever is causing the actual human transition. So what happens is it's a holographic, it's sort of a, think about a pie. When you cut a slice of pie, that slice of pie is a mirror image of the rest of the pie. Your loved one, including our own son, when he transitioned many years ago, the soul energy just automatically, it's like on autopilot, exits the human body and begins its return journey back to the spiritual realm. Um, when I've worked with clients over the course of many, many years, there is a lot of people worry about, they'll say, well, Linda, I'm worried about, is there problematic energy? Is there whatever they want to call it, dark energy, evil energy that might interfere? And honestly, in about 28 years of guiding regression, basically week in and week out, I've never had a client, and in this case, leaving a past life, because that's how I know about the afterlife, I've never had a client be interfered with by any kind of blockage or challenging energy, negative, what we might call dark energy. There are times, so everybody think about this, and we're going to get to questions, and I love questions because they bring forward information that we need to talk about. Um, some of you have probably experienced what we might call afterlife communication, and that means fairly close to the time of the passing of your loved one. Um, there's the ability of the soul, this happens a lot, the soul of your loved one has the ability to communicate and send love, send reassurance. I'm okay. I'm on my journey. I'm on my return journey, returning back to where I come from as a soul. And you all know um, you can't obliterate consciousness. And the soul of our child, and in some cases, I know there are some of you that have had more than one child pass. The soul of your children um, is permanent, is cannot be altered or ended. So some of you, I bet, have sensed even quickly after the passing of your child what is often called after death communication. So I'll say just a little bit more, and then I want Earl to jump back in. But what I know is that there's this automatic, and I can't easily talk without my hands. So what happens is the human body is no longer functioning. The soul energy has this automatic ability to leave the human body and begin that natural return journey, leaving third dimension, traveling through the energetic space that we often call fourth dimension or the astral plane. That's sort of the energetic space between Earth and the higher realm, or Earth and where the soul of your loved one, your child, is returning to. And it's an elevation, it's a gradual elevation process. If there's a need for support, um, there's a shamanic term called to psychopomp, and to psychopomp means it's almost like hand holding and guiding that soul across the veil. The soul energy of your child then returns to fifth dimension, spiritual realm, whatever you want to call it. Um, and basically, if you can see my hands, that portion of the soul that caused your child to live and breathe, that portion of their soul steps back into the totality of their soul. And that is where they are at all times, available, able to communicate. We'll talk in a few minutes about so what kind of responsibilities do souls have? Yeah. So, Earl, do you want to add to that?
Absolutely. I work with clients that are truly trying to understand where their loved ones are. How are they doing? I'm sure all of you have the questions about that. That makes, or many of you have questions about that. It's an important question. There's a lot of misconception about what souls are up to, what responsibilities they have when they cross over. The information that Linda and I have gained through working with clients, spending time for me out of my body, connecting with the energy in the spiritual realm, say, souls that cross over have a major responsibility. Your loved ones do not just sit idly by wondering how you are all doing. They are concerned. Many communicate with you energetically, but they have a major responsibility. When they cross over, they are assigned a role. And it depends on, and Linda will explain this shortly, it explains in some part the origin of their soul. Where do they come from? The earthly realm, the realm that many of us are in, the interplanetary realm that Linda's written a lot about. Some of you've come from that realm. Certainly, some of your children come from that realm, or the angelic realm. She's going to talk about that. But depending on your soul origin, it explains what tasks your loved one has at the soul level, in the spiritual realm. It is not from our work in dealing with souls who have crossed over, it's clear major responsibilities are assigned. And often with groups that have similar orientation. For instance, there's an interplanetary council that's composed of souls that come from other spiritual realms, other celestial realms. There's the earthly council of those who are earth-based, and there is the angelic realm, where many souls come from. And they work in those realms. They have tasks. So what's important, it's important for us, it's important, in our opinion, for you to understand that your loved one, your child, at whatever age, has transitioned. They continue to contribute to the evolution of humanity, to the evolution of their own soul. And many, as Linda said, many communicate with you. They want you to know they're okay, but it's more than that. They want you to know that they are busy. They have a role to play. They have a responsibility that exceeds whatever they were doing in their current life. And that's, from our perspective and the work we do, that's what's really important. It's also why we're committed, as Elizabeth indicated and Lisa indicated, to do periodic programs. Because what you are going through is incredibly important. But it's equally important to understand what your loved one, your child, is going through, and the contributions they are making in the spiritual realm, and how they are working in various councils, various committees, working to improve the situation, improve humanity's ability to understand and to heal. So we bless you all, and I'll let Linda explain more about these councils and these various ways that your child in the spiritual realm, in the fifth, sixth, seventh dimension, is contributing.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I want to say one quick thing that Earl is commenting about that I think is really important before I talk about more of a global or more of a broad-based perspective of what are our children doing on the other side. Often, if not always, your child is connecting with you, and is intending to connect with you because, and I'm sure many of you have experienced this and thought about it, because when you work across the veil, the soul of your child is on the other side, across the veil. You're here in body. You're working in tandem. You're assisting. Um, you're assisting. You're being assisted by your loved one, by your child on the other side. But at times, your child is assisting you to help others. Uh, uh, you might be teaching something. You might be supporting someone else in body. And so before I talk, globally and more, we might say spiritually and in an esoteric manner, um, think about how each of you has experienced the need for the connection across the veil, not just because it helps you as you adapt and go through what is not an easy grieving process. That's a piece of it. But your child or children are guiding you to continue moving forward in your current life and helping others whether it's helping your neighbor, whether it's doesn't matter. It does not have to be something, magnanimous like writing a book or teaching. It might be that, but it's you're working as a team, and that's a crucial piece. Um, all right, so bear with me, everybody. I'll get a little bit more esoteric. Let me just say that none of this is anti Western religion. And so I don't want any of you to hear Earl and me saying things that would go against the understanding of, pick your word, the divine source, great spirit, God, whatever word you wish to use. The coordination of the higher realm is coordinate. The easiest term that a lot of people use is source. So that's the word I'll use. Source is that highly evolved wisdom, love, compassion, inclusivity versus exclusivity. And your child is functioning at the soul level with that high frequency guidance that using the word I'm picking that we call source. So that's not in conflict. Some of you probably continue to follow a Western religion. It fits very well, and all that, based on what I know from guiding regression, is all valid. You probably also know that if you study any Eastern religion and Eastern philosophy, every single Eastern spiritual perspective teaches reincarnation. So, and if you go back in time, and I won't go into this right now, but if you go back in time to the a few hundred years pre and post crucifixion, you can also find, and again, I won't take time to go there right now. Um, you can also find teaching of the continuity of the soul in Western religion. So, bottom line, the soul of your child crosses over and is an experienced soul and takes on responsibility to aid not just you, yes, to aid you, um, your spouse, your parents, your children, loved ones, but the soul on the other side is also taking on, Earl was talking about taking on new responsibility. The soul of your child takes on responsibility to aid this place we call Earth and to aid humanity, to aid the needs of what at times isn't working effectively and with equality on our planet. So sometimes you can just use your intuitive capabilities and ask your child, so what are your responsibilities? What do you help with the most? And then trust what comes to you, whether it comes to you in pictures, whether it comes to you first with emotion, because sometimes intuition is led by emotion. It may come to you just in a knowing. What responsibility does your loved one have? And maybe the easiest way to put context around that, put a title to that, is it's spiritual guidance or a spiritual guide. Okay. So let me say just a little bit. I don't want to make this too complicated. Um, some of the souls of our children are souls that primarily are intended to grow and evolve on Earth. So they are what I call, and what I've learned through regression to call earth-based souls. And just so you don't confuse that with the term earthbound, earthbound means something else. An earth-based soul, if your child is an earth-based soul, your child's higher self, their soul energy when they were in body, and their soul energy now carries responsibility in the earth's spiritual frequency. And I'm not going to say but because I don't like that word. Um, and some of your children are not earth-based. And part of the reason I know this is because there are a lot of highly advanced souls that come to earth as our children, and they have wisdom that expands beyond understanding life on earth. And those would be souls that have experience in the broader celestial realm and souls that also work directly in the angelic realm and work directly with archangels. And if you want to know more, maybe the easiest thing for me to say, because it's a huge topic. Elizabeth mentioned a new book I recently published called Soul Design. You can just hop on our website or go to Amazon and find this new book with client material called Soul Design. It will help you understand the different souls. Sometimes our children let me say this differently. I would say, yeah, I'm going to say always. Our children who cross over are experienced souls. They came into body to aid humanity. And there are all kinds of reasons. I won't walk down the road of what are the various reasons why our children might transition. Um, but the role of our child in body was an important role. That role continues on the other side. It doesn't end. It doesn't, it's not over and, terminated just because your child crosses over. Um, so tap in, think about the wisdom that you knew that were the qualities, was the personality, were the intentions, was the attitude of your child. And those are indications of the incredible wisdom of your child, the soul of your child, that continues working from the other side and across the veil. So let me see if Earl, you want to add anything more? My sense is there are questions, so soon we
Well, it looks to me like
get to
there
questions.
must be more than 70 entries into the chat room, which means there are some people that have a few questions. So I really feel those are what we really need to address, because you have all chosen to spend this hour with us. And it's important that you get some takeaway that is meaningful, that's heartfelt, that makes a difference for you. You know, I assume, all of your loved ones, your children who have crossed over, have taught you things. They're all teachers for you. That's a painful place. It's not easy to accept the loss of my child was in fact in part because they came here to teach me, and I don't necessarily understand and grasp what it is that I'm supposed to learn from this experience. And so it's important just to understand your loved one can communicate with you. And there are those amongst you who have the skill set to help you connect with your loved ones so that you can do it on your own. Those that facilitate the connection between those in still body and on earth and those in the spiritual realm, their goal is to help you be able to do that connection. We are, in fact, our role is to teach you, to help you have this ongoing connection. I know Lisa feels this way. Others who work partly in the earthly realm and partly in the spiritual realm, because that's how we merge that energy.
Mm.
Feels the same way. It's about helping each of you. So
Yeah.
we'll let you all in charge deal with the questions.
Oh, thank you. I want to say, first of all, that this has been fascinating. It's always so much fun when you speak to our parents because you give them so much information and so much to think about. I have to say that there are lots and lots of questions. So I think that it's important to maybe choose some that are kind of universal questions that and questions that haven't already been answered by the things that you've been saying, because it's funny because I was going to start with um, a question that was answered immediately by you, Earl, as you were talking. So that's not the question that I'm going to start with. It's some some of these questions deal with near-death experiences and the transition point. And Carrie and Scott are asking, does everyone get the choice when transitioning to stay or go? Like in some near-death experiences, they state that they have a choice to stay or go, but say a tragic accident when they leave the body, do they get a choice to say, okay, I'll go back even though they might be paralyzed, etc.? Or do they get a choice to say, no, I want to go to my spiritual home? There are other people underneath it saying that they also would love to ask that question. So maybe you could say something about that, about whether or not we have a choice. And you were talking about soul plans. Maybe you could explain that just a little bit more, because some people don't necessarily understand that aspect of what's happening with our children.
Yeah. Well,
I'm
I'll
not
say,
sure if it's either Linda or Earl, whoever wants to take
We'll
this.
let Linda take that one.
or
To
perhaps
begin
both
with,
of us. Yeah. Well, what's complicated is that obviously some of your children had near death experiences, and some of your children did not have what we call NDEs. In the case of a near-death experience, when basically when the soul loosens, when your child's soul loosens enough to, be in that space that is somewhat disconnected from third dimension, then there are guides that step in. There are spiritual guides that come forward. And, if we had time, and maybe at some point, Elizabeth, in the future, we could do a whole program on spiritual guides. I'll just say briefly, and I know this from regression, we always have at least a, if not a team of spiritual guides. When we're in body, we always are supported by experienced souls that are, call them guardian angels, call them spiritual guides, pick your word, but guides exist. So when your child in an NDE steps into that fourth dimensional space between Earth and the higher realm, guides step in, and it's a discussion. It's a and yes, I think the most fair thing to say, and we're looking for sort of black and white answers, and sometimes the answers aren't black and white, but I think it's fair to say yes, that at the soul level, in what we call fourth dimension, um, your child makes a choice, but based on input from wise souls that we call spiritual guides. It's different if the child is not experiencing a near-death experience. And that's where it becomes even, a lot more complicated. Um, because trying to explain it isn't very black and white. There are times when what we might call a pre-birth plan. So before we incarnate, whether it's us or our children, there's a pre-birth plan. It's, am I going to be male or female? Am I going to be tall or short? Am I going to be light-skinned or dark-skinned? What am I going to work on? What are the intentions of this upcoming incarnation that happens um, before it doesn't just happen before we're embedded in our mother's womb. It can happen also or be expanded during the time before actual birth occurs and the umbilical cord is cut. But there is a life plan, and depending on the intentions of the soul that's coming in, that soul might say, um, here's where it's like, where do I pull in and not make this too confusing for all of you? Some souls that are highly evolved are reaching the point where they have complete choice about whether they continue incarnating. Because the more evolved we are as a soul, the closer we are to that point where we may or may not continue to incarnate. That doesn't mean we ever stop working in the soul realm, but we're reaching that choice. So some pre-birth plans are, okay, I've reached a level, let's just call soul evolution a 10-point scale to make it easy. I've reached a level of I'm an 8 on a 10-point scale. What am I going to work on when I come into body? And is my life, what's the chronological human years of my life? And that soul might choose potential exit points. But even when that exit point occurs, there's still soul level choice.
I
So,
just I just want to add one piece to that.
yeah, go ahead.
The NDE experience is very skewed, okay? All the evidence comes from those who choose not to cross over. They come back, okay?
Yeah.
So it's the evidence from all, and you see the speakers who have had these incredible NDE experiences, they all made the choice to come back. So what is lacking, obviously, is those that have that option, but say, no, it's my time. I
Mhm.
fulfilled my soul obligation. It's hard to leave, but I need to go. I'm being driven. We don't see that, okay? That's not evidence that's planned unless you tap in to the other side. And that's where it's really important for souls who remain, who have loved ones on the other side. I just wanted to add that. I know there are lots of questions, so we need
Yeah.
That was
short.
really wonderful. And I just have to say that everyone that I've heard speak about moving over to the transitioning to the other side and then coming back didn't actually really want to stay there because it was, I mean, didn't want to stay here. They wanted to stay there in spite of the fact that they have beautiful families here. They might have kids here. They have so much reason to live here. For instance, Dr. Mary Neal, but it was so beautiful and so love filled over there. They were just
Yes.
wanting to stay there.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
Therese is saying, my daughter's first exit point was at age 17. Her guide told her that it wasn't her time yet. We got 10 more years with her. She told
Wow.
me that she had to leave at that time. We had planned that. So I just think it's important for everyone to understand that they are home. We're still in school. I think that when you start on this journey, you would never believe this, but when you go a little bit farther down the healing path, you realize that this is school for us. We're learning tons of things from Dr. Linda and Dr. Earl Bachman, as well as all of the other experts from the afterlife field and from the grief field.
Yeah.
Really, um, they are the ones that now know everything that are able to help us from the other side, and it's beautiful, welcoming, and loving there. And this is one of the hardest places in the universe to be right now, or
Absolutely.
just
You're
in
so
general.
right, Elizabeth.
But I also have so many incredible questions. I think that this one is really important because this comes up usually every meeting, but I think that it is something that you might be able to just help this mom with. And it is, my child felt that life was pointless and left by choice. Is that why I don't feel him? Could one of you address that one for us and just reassure this mom?
Yeah, I'm so glad, Elizabeth, you brought that forward because obviously we live in a human culture where taking one's life is in many ways a misunderstood experience, but a very, very difficult experience. Um, there's always choice. Um, and there's human choice, but there's soul level choice. I do believe, and I base my knowledge on not only do I guide past life regression, but it's probably obvious to everybody now. I work with the client at the soul level after the ending of the past life. Um, and so, first of all, one thing I know, because I've heard it time and time and time again over many, many years, there is not a negative, inappropriate connotation from the spiritual realm, from guides, if in fact a life comes to a close because of some active choice. And and I have heard that, and I'm a little bit of a researcher, so I want to ask different clients the same question and see if the answers, relatively speaking, line up. And that answer lines up every single time. So there is no, black mark on the soul, no negative place in the spiritual realm for a soul where they opted in one way or another to end their life. And I think the other thing that just pops into my mind, and this happens probably to all of you, but it happens to me, it's like things drop into my brain, and it's like I'm saying to my guides, well, how is that connected? Because something just drops in, and I'm sure my guides are putting it there. Um, we make all kinds of choices about the length of our life. And those choices are often purposeful, not problematic, not wrong. And so, yes, in fact, of course, we have the term suicide or taking one's life. But there are other ways that either our life is longer or shorter that simply relate to choices we make. So I think I just want to say, and I'll stop babbling here, but I just want to say it's another piece of growth, in my opinion, that humanity needs is to wipe the blackboard clean with a big, huge eraser that there's something bad, wrong, inappropriate, shouldn't have happened if, in fact, someone takes their life, because the spiritual realm is open, ready, arms open to for that soul to cross over.
That's a beautiful answer, and I just want to also add to that that having a child transition by suicide is just an exit point, simply an exit point. It's like any other exit point, but the reason that this mom is not hearing from her child has nothing to do with the child. It has to do with the fact that we ourselves are in a deep state of grief. I hate that word, and that it is something that makes it harder for kids to communicate with us when we're feeling that way, but it has nothing to do with where they are or how they are right now. So
You're right, Elizabeth, in what you're saying, because it's our own blockage, it's our own reluctance to tune in. And when we can move beyond where we are, that energy is there for our loved one to contact us. It's clearly not for a lack of effort. In fact, in the work we do at times, we can feel the energy of loved ones being frustrated
Mm,
from where they are because they feel like they're truly being blocked by the earthly energy of their parents or their loved one. And so, what you're saying is so true. It has nothing to do with their loved one on the other side. It's all about our ability or inability or challenge or whatever to open ourselves up to feel that energy. Because when we do, we can feel that energy, we can feel that love, and we can feel guidance that is still coming from our loved ones because their role is often and their crossing over is often to teach us. What are we to learn? Not to say why, but what is it for us to learn? What are we to do with this? And I know many of you are asking that question in terms of, okay, how do I do what my loved one wants me to do from the other side?
Mhm.
That's the beauty of connecting like this. And I know because of my soul ray and everything, I think we could have a program where all Linda and I did was answer questions, because there are so many postings on the chat room, really things I just want to get on and I just want to respond to all of them, of which I have no time to do that. But because they're also meaningful, they come from a heart space and they're truly, and because of the work Lynn and I do, we want to help. But
Well, we're going to do this again, I promise. But I think that one really great question to wrap up with, because this is what you do, is Robin, who's asking, would a soul regression help me understand why my child transitioned before me? Is that something that either Linda or Earl could answer? Which either one, if you could.
Linda will definitely take that one.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I won't jabber on because I know we're short on time, but I never thought I'd end up doing this type of work. I thought I'd be this conventional psychologist the rest of my life, and there are lots of wonderful people that do conventional psychotherapy on the planet. But the answer is yes. The answer, that's the beauty of the longer regression that I guide, and people can hop on Earl's and my website and go take a look at information about that. But yes, because what I call between life soul regression is a regression where I guide the client to access their own information, and questions can be asked. And so it's both past life related, but it is uh, soul related. And I think once we, um, uh, let me just say a couple of quick things. One thing I know, and I agree with you, Elizabeth, I don't always like the word grief, but we're in a human body. So we have human emotions, and there's no way we can sidestep the human trauma of our child not being present in a human body. And that takes time to get through and then reach the point of focusing on the passing of our child from a soul level perspective. But once we're able to get to that soul level perspective, then what are we meant to learn? How can we help our child on the other side? How can they help us on this side? What's the relationship? What's the connection? It opens up more than we could ever imagine that we would come to understand about the earthly side and the spiritual side.
That's really a great answer. And I think that it's amazing to me how many questions we do have this evening. So, what I'm going to do is send all of these questions to you. And next time, if that's possible, you can have an idea of what everyone is interested in, and we can have you join us and maybe concentrate on the questions, because everything that you presented was so necessary and so wonderful. And everyone is thanking you in the chat box. And Lisa, did you have some thoughts on this evening before we ask everyone to say thank you and good evening?
I just thought that you did a remarkable job. Thank you so much. So knowledgeable. And thank you, Elizabeth.
Well, thank you for being here. Again, it's always a pleasure to have both of you on. Did you have any closing thoughts before we ask everyone to unmute and say thank you and good evening?
My quick closing thought, and Earl may have a quick closing thought, but my quick closing thought, and I was talking to a couple of people this week about HPH, and that is and I really mean this, and everybody knows this, but Helping Parents Heal is such an awesome organization that is so unique because there are groups that support the passing of loved ones or the passing of children. But right at this moment, I don't know any other group that focuses on the access to the soul of our child that is permanent. So I love that. And, blessings to you, Elizabeth and Lisa. And thank you just so much for giving us the opportunity and the honor to be with all of you.
And my only short comment is thank you for honoring us. It's a blessing that each and every one of you give to us. And so I want to return that. And thank you so much.
Oh, you guys have been absolutely wonderful. I didn't even know this was possible. We have all these hearts that are floating up.
I
They keep
see
on
that.
exploding as well. And it's the first time that this has happened on a meeting. So either it's a new function or it's something that people just love you guys so much that they are doing for us. So thank you for doing this, everyone. If you would like to unmute and say thank you and good evening, then please do so. And we'll quickly schedule another meeting to be able to get these questions answered for you. Okay?
Good
Go ahead.
night. Thank
Thank
you.
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 Thank
Thank you
you.
very
Thank you
much.
so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Have a
you.
wonderful evening, everyone. We'll see you soon. Take care. Bye, everyone.
Bye.